So I'm here today to show you how to make the world's greatest turkey. Yes, I know that doesn't sound very humble, but I've asked a lot of people, I've fed this turkey to a lot of people. They think it's the world's greatest turkey, and frankly, I'm going to go with it. So, to make the world's greatest turkey, it really is about making a brine. So, the first thing I'm going to do is teach you how to make a brine. Now, the ingredients that you're going to need are brown sugar, salt, a little bit of mushroom seasoning, if you can find it. If not, no big deal. Ginger, some peppercorns, lots of garlic. I'm a big fan of garlic. This is the ingredient I want you to try to find a lot of, and you can find it in most Asian stores will have lemongrass. You know, you can find it at grocery stores too. A lot of times you can find lemongrass in the herb section. It might be in a tube. It might just look like green gloop, but it's certainly fine that way too. This happens to be some lemongrass that I got out of my backyard because I can grow it here in lovely Pensacola, Florida. And it is the ingredient that really, I think, offers the most zing. You definitely have to have a stock pot like this, big enough for this turkey, which this turkey is about 18 pounds. I lost the ticket on it, but I think it's around, I remember it's around 18 pounds. So a lot of what I'm going to give you is based on, you want around an 18-pound turkey. Obviously, if you have a big 20-pound or 25-pound turkey or something like that, you're going to want to, increase the amount of ingredient. I've played with the different combinations, adding more or less of different things, and it's always fine. The one thing you want to be careful of not to use too much salt, because that can actually, dampen the flavor a little bit. And what I'm going to do before we get into the ingredients, I'm going to go ahead and put about, I say about a gallon and a gallon or a gallon and a half of water. You don't want to put a ton of water in it because we'll actually later on end up putting some ice in it to cool it down. So I'm going to go over to my sink and I'm going to add some water. And I'm going to go ahead and take it and I'm going to put it on the stove and I'm going to get it to boil. So while that gets to a rolling boil, I'm going to go ahead and prepare this beautiful lemongrass. So I take a pair of clippers like this. These are like pruning shears. And I'm going to just go ahead and cut this lemongrass. And the reason why I'm cutting it is the more surface area, the more flavor that's going to come out of it. So now that I have that cut up, I've got about a bowl. That's probably a cup and a half or so of lemongrass. You really can't go wrong with a lot of lemongrass. So the next thing is the brown sugar. And this is probably the second most important ingredient to get that flavor in the brine. And what I'm going to do I usually figure for every 14 pounds of turkey is about a cup of brown sugar. So I'm going to go almost another cup and put in there. So now I've got the garlic and I'm going to go ahead and peel the garlic, which is going to take a bit. I've got my garlic all peeled, but before I get into that even, I forgot I had this handy dandy little chopper, which I love. So sorry chopper, I forgot about you. So I'm going to take some peppercorn and I'm going to put a good heaping tablespoon and a half of peppercorns in there. And I'm going to go ahead and grind them, which I love that black pepper, fresh ground black pepper flavor. So I'm going to get this, once again, dirty in another little bowl. And now I'm going to put in my garlic. So I just drop it in. So now I'm going to chop it up. So I think this is good. We go to the ginger. And I'm going to try to cut it as thinly as possible. So I'm going to take that. All right. That should be plenty. And finally, what really makes it a brine is, of course, the salt. And, you know, for the most part, I use just regular salt. You know, once again, this bird is probably close to 20 pounds. So I'm gonna not do a full cup. For a 14-pound bird, I do a half cup. This one, I'm gonna go ahead and do 2/3 of a cup. And just have that. The final ingredient is this mushroom seasoning. If you've never used mushroom seasoning, you can find it in most Asian stores, and it's kind of it's like a natural replacement for MSG. All right, so the steam's starting to rise. Always a good sign when you're wanting to boil some water. And yep, we got a nice rolling boil. And I am going to go ahead and first I'm going to drop that lemongrass in. Got my handy wood spoon just to kind of mix things around as I drop it in. And the brown sugar, dark brown sugar. Next is the salt and the mushroom seasoning. I'll drop that in. And now is the peppercorns. Drop those in. And finally, it is the garlic. So I'll drop that minced garlic in and kind of wash it out with the water so I'm not wasting any. When it gets to a rolling boil again, I'm gonna just go ahead and set the timer for about 20 minutes. Okay, I gave you a little test. I wanted to see if you remembered the ginger. So the brine boiled for about 25 minutes, and now it's been another hour since I've taken it off the stove. And as you can see, it's kind of this brown soup, and oh my goodness, it really smells good. So what you'll want to do is make sure that this brine is thoroughly cooled. And of course, you know, everybody gets crunched for time. So usually I end up having to put some ice in it. A nice good stir. And grab this big old bird. Now I always like to put the bird in breast side down, because frankly, you know, that's the place that the brine really helps the most, because breasts tend to be, you know, a little bit of dryness, and you don't want to dunk it in. You're going to get brine all over the place. Just kind of ease it in, and once you get to that back opening of the turkey where you can get the brine into the cavity, it's going to level things off a little bit. And I'm just going to push it down just a little bit more. You know, if that tail isn't completely submerged or those back thighs aren't completely submerged, not a big deal. Once again, it's about getting that breast down in that brine, because that's what you really want to get good and juicy so it doesn't dry out. So now we're going to put our turkey in the refrigerator, and I put a lid on it. And remember, it's really important to keep the turkey cold. It's going to be in the refrigerator for 2 days, as long as 4 days. I wouldn't go over 4 days. The salt in the brine helps preserve it and reduces the growth of some bacteria. But obviously, you want to keep it cold, and you want to keep it covered. And, you know, you want to let it have a chance to absorb all those great flavors. Okay, it's been 2 days, and it's time to get the turkey out of the refrigerator, and let's see what it looks like. But before we take it out of the brine, there's a few things you probably want to get together. One, have a pan that's got some aluminum foil on it. Also, if you have a grate or something like this, it's awesome. I like to put the bird directly on it when I stick it in the oven. Get some more of my favorite lemongrass, get it ready. I cut it into good sized chunks, and some of the thinner pieces I've left whole. This is going to be your aromatics, what they call aromatic. We're going to put it in the bird, and it's going to flavor it even more as it cooks. Taking the bird out of the brine is messy business. So you want to just take your time, let the bird have a chance to drain as much as possible before you put it on to your tray. When you place it on your tray, you're going to want to take the lemongrass and put it inside the bird. The next thing is to take some Montreal steak seasoning. Now this stuff is great. If you've ever used it, you'll know that it really flavors the meat. I got a whole lot on there. So now I'm going to place the bird on this grate, but I'm gonna place it breast side down, all right? So I'm gonna lift the bird up, try to do kind of two things at once here. Lift the bird, put the grate down, and then I'm gonna set the bird down like so. So it's nice and kind of balanced. And then I'm going to continue to put some more of this Montreal steak seasoning. So the oven's preheated at 350 degrees, but I want to share with you something. You can see how we have these grates. This grate's close to the bottom, there's a little space, and then this grate's further than midway down. We also put aluminum foil all across the bottom. Now, if you're a person that doesn't like messes, you may want to forget about this way, but I guarantee it's the best way to cook a turkey. Place this beautiful turkey on this top grate, like so. I'm going to take the pan and I'm going to slide it underneath it. But you can see we have the bird here, it's on a grate, and then the drippings are going to go down into this pan. And even though this pan's fairly shallow, they're going to burn off. But this is going to allow for a lot of circulation. The other thing I want to point out is I'm cooking the turkey breast side down. A lot of the flavors is in the backbone of a turkey, and it's going to drift down into those breasts versus letting those breasts dry up by having them turn the other way. So we have the turkey in. We've got our oven cooking at about 350 degrees, and it's going to stay in there, believe it or not, for only about 2.5 hours before I check it. Faster cooking means more of the good juices are going to stay in the bird, which means they're going to get into your belly. All right, it's been over 2.5 hours, so this bird is, I said it's around 18 pounds. That should be enough time. It's real important to have a meat thermometer. What you want to see is that meat thermometer going up to 165 degrees. Now, a lot of birds may come with a little pop-up thing. It's garbage. Don't use it. Get a meat thermometer. It's the only way you're going to get a real reading. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to stick this in the leg. Not the breast, in the leg. Okay. And there we go. It looks like we're right at 165, which is exactly where you want to be. So I'm going to pop this out because I want to let this turkey rest at least an hour before I cut into it. Now this is really important. A lot of people, they're timing things and they'll pull the turkey out and they'll start hacking away at it. That's a really bad idea because all that steam that you see come up in the air, that's moisture. You want to keep that moisture in the meat. So this turkey is going to rest at least an hour and a half possibly before I start cutting into it. The other thing is when I cut into it, I'm not going to use a serrated edge. These knives are terrible for turkeys. They're terrible for meat in general. Anytime you have a serrated edge, it's going to actually make that meat seem even drier, right? Because it has more surface texture, and that surface texture on your mouth is going to make it feel dry, kind of like eating a sponge. So what you want is a good sharp knife, and I always love to keep a sharp knife. So while your turkey is resting for an hour, you can sharpen your knife. Presentation is important too, and I always like to get some help. But taste is what it's all about, and it's always satisfying to see smiles after family and friends take their first bite. I hope you gobbled up this information and you'll make your own best turkey too.